Hi there, I'm Bernie Martin Beck, and I've got a fuzzy bear. This is, I think we can learn a whole lot about it. My name is often been referred to as Bern Bear because the name comes from Bernard or bear. But this one is a cutie, and it came from Olive. Welcome, Olive. Olive Watson, where did you get this bear?
I buy my toys at the Goodwill.
Okay, not this one, though.
Yes.
He's so clean and shiny.
Well, I get a lot of them are brand new. They still have the tags on them.
But sometimes they're not brand new. What happens then?
Well, they get washed. But most of them I won't even, I'm getting picky. I get the clean ones.
How many have you rescued? How many animals?
Well, I think I've sent around at least 400, maybe more, to the missions. I sent them to Russia, to Moldova. We took those to Moldova. And then we send them down to Chiapas with Anita and Roland Franklin.
You know, the crazy thing is that some people don't know how lovable these are, but you sure do. You know that they can bring a smile to a kid's face.
The time we got to really see the children present them ourselves was at Moldova. Most of them we send for somebody else to take over.
Well, why don't you introduce us to the guy next to you? Who is this man?
I'm Mr. Olive. I'm her husband.
Mr. Olive. William Watson, we know here at the station as Bill. And Bill's very often behind the camera, but that badge, William Watson, isn't about Better Life Television at all.
No, it's about the retired and seniors volunteer program.
How do you volunteer?
Oh, it's easy. They're very glad to have volunteers. Just call them up and tell them you'd like to help, and they'll find something for you to do.
What are some of the jobs you've done, Bill?
Well, I did some tutoring for kids, you know, that are having a little trouble in school with their math, and mostly delivering Meals on Wheels with the Meals program.
Now, who do you deliver to?
Most of the people that, for the most part, they're seniors that are kind of housebound. They're not able to maybe go to a restaurant and get their meals. So this provides them with one hot meal a day.
How long have you been doing that job?
It's coming up 13 years now.
And I understand you have a sidekick that goes along with you.
Yeah, somebody I've known for a long time.
How long?
60. Well, I've known her for probably about 70 years.
You and Olive have known one another 70 years.
Yeah.
I was 29
acquaintances, friends.
when I met Bill, but he was only 21. Romance was out of the question. He was a friend of my brother's, and so we were just friends. And then after 6 years, a little over 6 years, we got married.
You decided this might last.
62 years ago.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Now, Olive, you've had a profession your own.
Yes.
You,
I graduated from nursing in 1933.
Very good year.
And then I practiced nursing until we adopted 2 children. Judy was first, and then a year later we adopted Kenny. And so I took out 7 years so that they would I could be with them until they went back to school. And then we arranged it so our shifts would be different, so I could be with them and then Bill could be with them.
Ah, so one fixed breakfast and the other one cooked dinner, huh?
No, I cooked breakfast. Let's see, I must have cooked breakfast and dinner because I worked 3 to 11.
Oh, nursing. And where was this?
Well, I graduated from the Portland Adventist Hospital. It was called Portland Sanitarium at that time. And then I worked in Oregon for a while, then I got reciprocity in Washington, and I worked in Washington until Bill and I got married in 1944.
Now, Bill, what were you doing in 1944?
Well, I was, at the time we got married, I was in a radio school preparing to go in the Merchant Marine as a radio operator.
Now, the Merchant Marines was during wartime.
World War II.
What about the Merchant Marines? Was that the safest place to be?
No, it wasn't. Actually, during the early part of the war, they were losing far more merchant seamen in the war than they were the armed forces.
And
They were sinking our ships all over.
they were sinking your ships that were not harmed.
Well, they had, most of them had what they called gun tubs built onto the deck, and they'd had anti-aircraft guns with 50 millimeter guns.
So that came along as precautionary to
They had a
getting...
Navy gun crew of about 20 men.
And
who
he
manned the
carried
guns.
ammunition too on those ships, so that was full of gunpowder.
Well, all kinds of explosives.
Okay, that's kind of like Doug on the ammo ship going, he thought it was a Wheaties ship and it ended up being ammunition.
There was an interesting thing about it. This ship that I sailed on, we loaded up with ammunition at Port Chicago, and at that time and on the San Francisco Bay. And the day we left, the day after we were at sea, the next ship that came in behind us exploded in port and blew up half the city. So we were just out of there in time.
Where all did you go, Bill?
Mostly in the South Pacific. I was on oil tankers much of the time, so we'd get over there, unload quickly, and go back again. So I was back and forth for
How
most
many
of the
times across the ocean?
15 or 20, I suppose.
Oh my goodness. Now, your job was what on that ship?
I was the radio operator, the communications officer, they called me.
So you can send code right along with old Doug, huh?
Actually, while we were at sea during the war, we were under what they call radio silence. Couldn't give away our position, to the enemy. So I didn't have a lot to do except to do my watches and copy code. They'd send our instructions if we were to change and go to a different location or whatever they wanted us to do. It was encoded.
Have you used your code in past? Have you kept up with code? Or you
Not really. Since the war, I haven't had much use for it, but I still have it. So if I hear a code, I can tell what they're saying.
Oh, Doug will just hear it on the TV or something, and he'll just read it out for me. 'Cause I never learned code very well. I know SOS.
Yeah, it's actually, if you take those things separately, it does use the letters SOS, but that isn't what it's just an international distress code.
And did you ever have to have trouble? Did you have trouble at sea? Did you ever need to get help?
Actually, we didn't on the ships I was on. I always had made a practice of the night before we'd leave port. I'd always offer a prayer and ask God to protect us and bring us home safe. He did. We on the radio, I'd receive messages, or I could overhear messages of ships and submarines and aircraft that report submarine sightings, and we could track them.
Oh my.
And one time we just crossed paths with one of them. I suppose it was one of our submarines because we didn't get attacked.
Oh, good, good. There's all kinds of stuff here, and I want to learn about it. And but since we're talking history, this little bag looks like it's been around a ways. Could you tell me what this is? I'll put it in your hands because Olive can't see very well, right?
Right.
But
Well, as a nurse, we learned to take blood pressures. And this was the kind we used. And we put these in our ears, but now I have hearing aids in there. And then this little thing we would read. But now that I have macular degeneration, and I got to the place where I couldn't see the thing. And I was working over at Senior Center in a program called SHAPE. It had something to do with health and I passed out literature and took blood pressures in the hall. And I told Scott, who was in charge of SHAPE, I said, you know, I can't see this thing anymore. And I would like one of those digitals.
You'd have to quit if you couldn't read it.
I said, if you can't afford one, I can get one. He said, we'll get it.
He didn't want to lose you. So that's where this comes in?
Then we started getting the digital. And you fasten the thing up in the back here. And you put this thing around you can fasten it, can't you? And you put this thing around your arm. And then you press a little...
this is
well, I'm not going to put it around my arm, but that's the way it goes, around my arm. And then you press this little thing, and it starts with a number 0, and then you press this little thing, and it starts buzzing and
pumping air
up.
Cup.
And then then when the air gets full, and then it starts going down, and then you read your blood pressure, and I could read this.
You can. How? I wanted to have you show people how you can read.
How I can read? Mm-hmm. Well, this thing doesn't...
How close do you have it to your face?
Oh, I can see about here.
Well, when you see me in a crowd...
I can see your figure, and I know who it is. But to see you real close, to see what color your eyes, and if you have any smile or stuff, I have to be... Yes.
Bill, I bet you that's kind of interesting to have this
I
lady
watch it.
come up to you nose to nose.
Well, I can't do that with everyone. But I usually tell them I don't see very well. Do you mind if I get close? And when Danny Shelton was here, I said, now I can't really see you until I get up to right in your nose. So I did it, and he said, his lip began to kind of quirk a little bit, and he said, makes me want to kiss you. And I said, well, I'm in my 90s, it's okay.
Bill, did you agree? You know, you've watched this lady go from seeing to not seeing, but it hasn't slowed her down much, has it?
Not a whole lot.
I think that the worst thing that slowed me...
Breaking your leg was the worst, that slowed her down more than anything.
This February, on the 4th of February, I've been riding my bicycle now for at least the last 10 years because the cartilage in my knee got so thin that it was painful to walk. But I can ride the bicycle and no problem. And I'd go down on Shady Lane for about 45 minutes going in and out of the cul-de-sacs. And I knew the people there, and they knew me. And they would say, good morning, Oliver. Hi, Olive. And this morning when I went, they're doing a lot of construction work over there. And they had water lines and sewer lines, and I shouldn't have been on that road at all. But I did, and I went through, and I got through all that stuff. But my bike slowed down, and in order to keep balance, my bikes have to keep moving. So I kind of veered off into a private driveway, and it was a little bit sloping, and I started picking up speed. That's when I should have stopped the bike. But I thought I'll turn around, and that's when I broke my leg.
And how'd you find out about this?
Oh, well, the neighbor, the driveway that I went in, the neighbor across the street gave her a cell phone. She called Bill, and she called the ambulance. And when I got to the emergency, I don't know, do you know Dr. Hill? He works in emergency, and he said, your face looks familiar. Are you the lady that rides the bike? And I said, yes. And you remember the last time I was here, I was 89, and I had had a bad accident. And you told me, you said, how old are you? And I said 89, and you said, I forbid you riding the bicycle. And he laughed, and he said, well, I'll tell you. This time, I'm going to tell you, get well and get back on the bike. And I guess that's reverse psychology, because Bill won't let me go. And
But you're still active?
well,
Bill saw to that, I understand.
yes.
Yeah.
When in March, we have a daughter in Hawaii. She and her husband flew over, and our son from Sacramento came. And after breakfast, they said, Mother, we're going shopping. And then they came back, and we had our noon meal, and they said, now, Mother, we want to take you and show you what we've been looking for. Well, we came home with a stationary bike, and I thought that was a kind of a hint to
Get back on the bike. Huh?
But it's one of those that you exercise your arms and your legs. It's a nice bike.
Now, how's she doing, Bill?
What's she doing? She says that it's kind of boring because it doesn't go anywhere. Scenery stays the same. But
Well-
she works on it.
Well, I took my regular bike out a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, I think I'm good enough to give it a try, and I'll just stay in the yard, because we got a big yard. So I brought the bike up to Bill's shop, and Bill said, what is this bike doing in my shop? I said, it has a flat tire. It needs to be pumped up. He said, it won't be pumped up.
Bill, you had some ulterior motive there, didn't you?
Well, I suppose you might say so. I didn't want.
Well, he loves me, and he doesn't want me to break my leg again.
Now, I don't blame you, Bill. We're glad it healed, and we're glad you're back to walking again. Bill, you've got a whole nother career here that volunteer. You're
mean the
usually
DLTV?
back there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I started with the cameras when we first moved over here from the school. And that's been, what, 19...
Well, you were even doing it before we moved from Cave Junction. You were going up to the school.
Oh, the Cave Junction part of your life. You had a
Yes.
big spread out there, didn't you?
Yeah, we had 20.5 acres.
Right on the banks?
Right on the river, the Illinois River.
And loved every minute of it?
Yes.
Well, it sounded great, you know, we're from California, and 20 acres, that's a lot, you know. So we thought it'd be fine, but it turned out to be a lot of work.
Oh,
Well, we were, it was a small church, and so you have to work.
right.
So we got into Pathfinders. And I got most of my bird honors right there on the place.
Because birding is easy in Illinois Valley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, we have the river and the trees, and that attracts birds.
And there's some of the most beautiful country out there. There's a special park that's just a little spot where flowers and fauna, flora and fauna, I think it's called, is like almost no place else.
Well, I got my flower honor too, mostly from the place. We had an orchid bed, and then we had the pasture with all the different flowers in the pasture. It was beautiful.
What
flowers.
else was in the pasture besides flowers?
Lots of weeds.
Well, we had some coyotes, and we had some foxes, and we had some skunks, and we had some.
Of course, you'd have deer.
We had
Lots of
deer.
So it was like really moving from California, you thought, we'll just go and.
Well, another incentive was that we bought it at a very nice price. We were passing through and on our way to Portland one year, and we thought we'd just look around the area and see if there's anything we liked. We're getting ready to retire, so we came across this 40-acre parcel and for sale for
800.
no, we bought it for $12,000.
Yeah.
and
Oh my.
we only bought a half of it. We only wanted 20 acres, so that was still more than we needed.
I'll bet. Yeah, we thought we'd divide our 10 acres into 2 5-acre parcels, but in the interim, they decided that wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have 40 acres to and
Well, where we moved, we were in the country. I mean, we were in, what do you call it,
Can't move in the county.
in the county. And just a short time ago, they put us in the city.
It surrounded us and then absorbed us.
And now our taxes went twice as high. And the restrictions, Bill just went down today to see about getting a fire,
A burning permit.
burning permit. And it was $10, and he thought that might be for a year. Not so.
Every time you burn, you get to buy a $10 permit.
uh-huh. Well, and you don't have much window to burn. You have to burn on just one
On
week.
certain days.
Yeah.
They give you 4 days to do
And
it.
then it has to be, the air conditions have to be just right. You have to call in and get permission.
And part of me says that's good because we
Yeah.
don't want to be smoggy, smoky,
Oh, yeah.
bad for health here. But part of me says, man,
Over control, it seems like to
there
us.
goes my freedom.
Yeah.
It's interesting to have lived in Southern Oregon. Oh, I was born here in '38, and to watch things change.
Been a lot of changes.
Yeah, some for the better, some not so good. But I've loved coming back here. It just feels right. I heard just this week about children who draw, the teacher will say, draw mountains. And if they're from the Midwest, they draw these little rolling mountains, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're from out here, boy, they're going to be peaks. They may even have a crater in the top
And
for-
snow cap.
and snow-capped, like Ice Cream Cone Mountain, which has a better name, Mount Pitt and Mount McLaughlin.
Oh, good.
We always thought that was ice cream cone because I've learned that the Indians said that there was a time when you could see an eagle in that snow cap of Mount McLaughlin, when the snow would just be melted in a certain way. That was the time to plant corn. You know, they may have had a good idea there because you don't want to plant too early and you don't want to plant late. There's a garden that grows in your yard, as I understand.
A big one.
How much you plant?
How much? Well, we plant a little of many types of vegetables.
And
Corn.
Well, we froze, what was it, 340 ears of corn. We cut it off. So we've got lots of frozen corn. And then I have built with Bill, we worked together on this, and I have 89 quarts of tomato juice. So if you like tomato juice, come and see us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I like corn too.
Come see us.
Now, your garden is too big for you?
It's getting bigger all the time.
And did I understand you share? You share the good?
Yes.
We have good neighbors next door. He comes over and helps.
He comes over and
Picks,
picks our raspberries
raspberries.
and divides them. Give us half and he takes half, and
We both have
there's still
one we
plenty
can-
left for us.
Isn't that called sharecropping?
I guess.
The first crop we have is asparagus. It starts very early, and we just have lots of fresh asparagus.
Spargo.
Good.
Strawberries,
Yes, we have a strawberry bed,
apples.
a raspberry bed.
Now, in your retirement, what are you going to, aren't you ever going to get in the rocking chair?
We're not looking forward to it, but I suppose it's coming.
Now, you told me your age, and you told me how much younger he is, so we can kind of figure out that neither one of you is spring chicken.
Well, he's
No,
89.
hardly.
How are we going to celebrate his 90th?
Well, actually, I get my birthday in January 4, and he gets his in June 21. So he has a little wait for his. Then he'll be 90.
Another 7 months.
And you plan to keep on keeping on, both
As
of
long
you.
as we can, yeah.
Well, I'm planning to get back on that delivering if I can. Right now, I go with him. Part of the time I go on the route just to keep him company. And mostly he'll leave me off at the Goodwill and I go shopping for toys that I send out to kids.
Well,
And I also get clothes. Lots of nice clothes there.
well, you guys are remarkable. And you know, you give me so much hope and courage because I've got 20 years or 30 years till I'm there.
You got ways to go.
And I don't fear. I don't fear for the future. Even with my cancer, it's a history. It's in the back of, and as long as the good Lord lets me keep on keeping on, I'm going to do it.
Sure.
My dad used to say it's better to wear out than to rust out. So we've been wearing out.
But not very fast. I'm so proud of you. Bill, what about Better Life Television? You have been here since early on. You had faith to believe that this could go.
I believe in BLTV, and it's been great feeling like I'm part of the team. I just want to help make good programs if I can.
And you know, Better Life TV and Three Angels broadcast has been such a wonderful thing for me since I don't read anymore. I can sit close by the TV and see it well, and that's been a blessing. Of course, I have the Bible tapes, and I have a lot of good tapes, and I listen to them. When there's a program that I don't care for, I'll be watching tapes, listening to tapes.
But you're still doing kitchen work too, aren't you?
Yes, I do most of the cooking. He helps me with anything that has to be heavy that I can't carry over, but
And how about housework?
well, he helps me with the housework too. You know, he made a terrible mistake. He started doing the vacuum a long time ago,
Big mistake.
and it became his work, his job.
I learned don't let you find out what you can do, because then it becomes your job.
Well, during chemo, they gave me quite a list of things I shouldn't do, and Doug's been really helpful and keeping on those jobs. Thank you for leading the way and showing us that senior years are just full of new learning, new excitement. You know, you folks are just tremendous. Thank you for being here, and thanks, the whole community thanks the volunteers with Meals on Wheels. And all
Thanks for having us.
My good pleasure. I'm Bernie Martin Beck saying thank you for tuning in to Journeys and Journals. And thanks for coming back after 5 years to celebrate our 10th anniversary.